All right, here's how you do a clutch dump. Not a neutral drop, everyone calls it the wrong thing. So pull up on the shifter, rock it to make sure it's in gear. Right, so now I'm revving it up and it's not going anywhere even though it's in gear because I'm holding the shifter up. When I drop the shifter down, that dumps the clutch. I didn't do it very hard, obviously, from the garage. Let me show you why it's not a neutral drop, right? Take a look at the screen. So we're neutral, we're in first gear, and now I'm going to show you the same method in second gear. So see how we're in second gear? Look at my foot. I'm holding up on the shifter. I'm revving it up, it's not going anywhere, and I can dump it. Okay, so it's not a neutral drop, right? Because I can do it in any gear. I'll even show you in third gear for the non-believer. So come look at the screen. Third gear. I'm revving it up, it's not going anywhere. I lost my foot. Okay, so that's the clutch dump method. That is much better than the neutral dump method, which is just having it neutral, revving it up, and trying to stick it in gear. That's how you bend shift forks, blow up your transmission and everything else. Don't do a neutral dump, do a clutch dump. Actually, don't do either one. But if you're gonna do one, do the clutch dump. Now I'm gonna show you inside the motor what that's actually doing. So I'm installing one of these Tarachi 35% gear reductions, and it's a great time to show you how the clutches actually work. All right, so I've recently had a bunch of people telling me that I cannot do a clutch dump on a Honda because it doesn't have a clutch up here. And they say that I'm just doing a neutral drop, or they don't believe me despite seeing me do it in videos just about every time. So I do clutch dumps on a Rubicon all the time because they don't have much power, and that's a great way to pop the front end up or get a good launch off the start like you saw at the Bounty Hole. So the way this mechanism works is you've got a shifter right here, and this shifter is connected to this shaft. This shaft turns this arm. This arm actually has two little arms on it. This arm up here operates the clutch. This arm down here operates the shift drum and changes the gear. So if you're good and you have a good feel for it, you can feel what's going on with the shifter. So this right here, as you can see, let me see if I can zoom out so you can see the shifter too. This part of the travel in the shifter only operates the disc clutch. There's a little spring accumulator down there that's not shifting gear yet. So you can use this little part of the clutch, this little part of the shifter travel to just control the clutch. Now, a lot of times what I do is, you know, if I'm in second gear and I want to get a little rev, I'll just pick up on the shifter a little bit to slip the clutch to get a little bit of power. If you go too far, you shift the gears, and that can be catastrophic if you're on the throttle and stuff. But you know, proceed with caution. But if you're careful, you can use that to slip the clutch, which is pretty cool. Now, what I usually do is, so let's go to neutral. Okay, so now we're in neutral. What I usually do is I shift to first gear, right? So the clutch is open, and you see the shifter right there moved, the little shifter piece. So we're in first gear, right? So we've already engaged first gear, the clutch is still open. Now I rev up the engine and I let go of it. That's how I do a clutch dump. Same thing in second gear. I shift the transmission into second gear, but I keep holding this up a little bit longer, build some revs, release it, and that's a second gear clutch dump. This takes some practice, and you know, a lot of people mess up their motors. Now, it goes without saying, for any of this to work right, you have to have good clutches, and they have to be adjusted properly. If your clutches are out of adjustment, none of this is going to work. But you should be able to operate the clutch a little bit before you operate the shift drum, which is a pretty cool feature of these Honda motors. You can't do this with electric shift, right? Because you're just pressing buttons. You don't have that feel of the shifter. So you can't do this with my Foreman or with my Pioneer 500, which is kind of annoying because I really like having that feedback and that feel of what's going on in the motor. But let me just go over that again real quick because I know it's a little confusing. So this shifter goes into the back of the motor here, and there's a little mechanism. All this shifter does is turn, let me take this off so I can show you. All this shifter does is turn this shaft. See the shaft right there? That's all it does. It's directly connected to this shaft. It doesn't do anything else. It just passes through the motor. And now, this shaft is the same thing in electric shift, right? Electric shift, instead of having a shifter, you have an electric motor that turns this shaft, okay? I'm gonna put this back on now for demonstration's sake. So to put this back on, you gotta hold the shifter kind of in the center, and then you can line this up. It does have a spline that's kind of off to help you. Okay, so we got that back in there now. So all the shifter does is turn this shaft. This shaft, all it does is turn this arm and this little arm down here, right? They're all part of this one piece. This arm operates, the big arm operates the disc clutch. The small arm operates this crazy mechanism which turns the shift drum. That 10mm bolt is directly into the shift drum. So again, when you first start to hit the shifter, all you're doing is operating the clutch. And then when you go farther, you start to turn the shift drum. So play with that, guys. If you're good, you can use it to clutch up wheelies, clutch up all kinds of stupid stuff, neutral drops or whatever. And if you want to see this in action, that's how I did the launch on the yellow banana in the Mud 815 bounty hole.